Alright, hi everyone, this is Sammy again, and we're going to now work with this data set a little bit in order to see how to use some simple techniques like filtering and sorting to identify some errors in data entry that we actually are looking for in this data set. So the first thing I'm going to do is to prepare my data set is I'm going to drop down this little bar once to freeze the top pane, and I'm going to select all cells by clicking the little triangle here, go up to sort and filter, and hit filter so that we get little drop down boxes up at the top, which means that we'll be able to sort and filter by any variable we want to. So I'm going to come down to the bottom of this worksheet and look at the second sheet. It says checklist, and here Katie, my manager, has left me with some questions to answer, looking for errors in data entry. So this data was taken directly out of WidBiz, and we're going to look for some errors so that we can follow up with the people who did the data entry to see if it really was just a data entry error, or if the client gave us erroneous error, but that they can follow up on it and hopefully fix the problem. So the first question here is, if reported being employed, is there also reported employment income? So any client that tells us during a business status update or outcome evaluation that they've been employed for the past X number of months, then they should have some kind of employment income. So we're going to go back to the data set, and this is basically going to concern two variables. One of those variables is this one right here in column number P, which is employed. This is a yes or no variable, so this is based on the question, have you been employed for the past, in the past 12 months, have you been employed? And so ones are for yeses and zeros are for nos. And then the second column here, income employment. So then we ask them the follow-up question, what was your income from this job during that time? And we can already see right now that we have one client at least who answered yes, they were employed, but then for income we have that they weren't making any income whatsoever. So it looks like either they weren't employed or they were employed and there should be income there, some kind of error. Either it could have been an error on the part of the client when she gave us the information during a phone call. It could be an error on the part of the person doing the survey that they did not write anything down, or it could be an error for the client service coordinator or the volunteer who was doing the data entry, that they just made a mistake when they were putting the information in. But we want to know how many times this occurred, how many instances of this were there. So we're going to do two filters to find this out. First, I'm going to go to employed. So just to check back, just to reiterate, the question is, if reported being employed, is there also reported employment income? So what we want to do is, number one, we want to look at all of the clients who in this set reported being employed, and then look to see if there were any who reported being employed and then had no reported employment income, if that makes sense. So what we'll do, going back here, is we'll go up to the variable employed, pull down the little drop-down box, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I only want to see the clients who reported being employed. So what I'm going to do down here is come down to this filter area, and I'm going to deselect 0. That means that only 1 is selected, which means that it's going to filter out all of these clients and only show me the clients who have 1 for a valuable for this variable, which is, so now I have basically a list of clients who were all reported being employed. Okay? And now I'm going to go to the second variable we're looking at, which is income employed, and what I'm looking for is within this set of clients who reported being employed, I want to see who has a 0 for income employed, because they all should be making some kind of income if they're all employed. So here I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to deselect the select all option. So now all of these are deselected, and I'm going to only select 0 because I only want to see the clients who have no reported income. You also might want to come down to the bottom of this list to look for blanks, but we don't have any blanks. So only zeros. I'm going to hit OK. And now I have a list. Now my spreadsheet only contains clients who reported being employed, but for whom we have no employment income whatsoever. It seems like a lot. The most likely case is that we don't know how much income they were making, in which case it should be 99 instead of 0. But if I want to find out how many instances of this there were, what I can do is I can highlight the entire column, and then I can take a look down here at the basically at the bottom of the screen, and it'll show me count 503, which means that in this column, now that I have selected, it counts 503 values, which means we have 503 employees, or I'm sorry, 503 clients who reported being employed and for whom we have no reported employment income. So if I just want to do, if I just want to report back on the number, I can simply type in 503. But what I was doing for Katie was that I was creating a new sheet, and I was renaming it Employ Yes, Income Employ No. It's a little code name for this worksheet, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the original data where I have these filters in place, and I'm going to select the whole thing by clicking this little triangle up here. I'm going to copy. Oops, let me do that again. I'm going to select the entire spreadsheet by clicking this little triangle. And I'm going to go up here to select copy. And you can also do this by pressing Control-C if that's easier for you. Hopefully your computer doesn't go this slow. Mine only is because I'm running the recording software to make the video. And then up here in the new worksheet that I made in column A, row 1 at the very beginning, I'm going to paste that entire spreadsheet in here. So I'm going to right click and hit paste. Right. So now Katie can go to this sheet and she can see a list of all of the clients for whom this error is true. These, as a side note, when you see cells that are full of the pound sign here, it means that the data is too wide for the column. So we would need to make the columns wider in order to fix that problem. And you can do that one by one, but one thing I really like to do is to select the entire sheet, go to the option Format, and click on the option Format, and down here there's an option that says Auto Fit Column Width. So it'll automatically resize all of the columns to make sure that the data fits in there and we don't get any of those weird pound signs in there. Okay, so we're done with that. What we can do at this point is that Katie or your manager or whomever is working with the data can find out who the people were who did the data entry for these clients and circle back with them and say, listen, we have no data on their employment income even though they told us that they were employed, and we can try and find out a reason for that. If it was because we just don't have that data, then we can replace those zeros with 99s so that our database is as accurate as possible. Alright, we can do one more of these. The third question on this worksheet is, if the business status is startup, existing, or established, is the client also reported as self-employed? So any client who is in business should be reported as self-employed in our database. Sometimes this is not the case. So we're going to go back to the data. The first thing that we're going to do, since we had this all filtered out, is we're going to go up to Sort and Filter, and we're going to hit Clear. We're going to choose the option Clear. that means that all of the filters that we previously applied will be nullified, and we're just basically back to the original data set that we were working with before. All right, so our question is, if a woman has a business status of startup, existing, or established, if they're in business, we want to see that they are in the database as being self-employed. So the two variables that we're looking at in this case are business status in column O and self-employed in column R. All right, so if the client has a business status of startup, existing, or established, then we want to see if they're self-employed. So the first thing that we want to do is filter business status, the variable business status, to only show us clients who have a status of startup, existing, or established. And you see here that you have a huge range of values for this variable. So we're going to deselect the select all, which means that all of them are deselected, and we're going to only select established, existing, and startup, those three. We're going to hit OK. And now the spreadsheet only contains women who are in business, who have a business status of startup, existing, or established. We can see we have this column selected, and we can see down here there are about 513 clients who have a business status of startup, existing, or established. So then the other variable that we were interested in is self-employed. So the value for self-employed for all of these women should be 1. It should be the case that all of the women who have one of these business statuses is marked as being self-employed in our database. We can already see that most of them are 1s, but we have a few 0s in there. So what we want to do is we want to hit the drop-down box here, and we want to select the value 0. So we want to see all of the women for whom it says that they are not self-employed. Alright, so we filtered the database. Now all we have in this database is women who have a business status of startup, existing, or established, and who are marked as not being self-employed in the system. So this is an error because all of the women who have that positive business status should be marked as self-employed in this system, in the database. And we can go down to the bottom again and see that the count for this, now that we have all of them selected here in the column, that the count for this is 121. So it's pretty good. Out of however many thousands of women who are in this database, only 121 show this error. So I'm going to do the same thing I did the first time. I'm going to create a new sheet. I want to say biz status yes. I'm going to say biz status yes, saying they do have business status, and self-employed no. So the person who will be looking at this will know that this sheet contains women who have a business status but who are not listed as self-employed in our system. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to click at the top left here to select the entire spreadsheet. I'm going to hit copy to copy all of those cells. I'm going to go back to the sheet I created for business status yes, self-employed no. I'm going to click in the top left-hand cell, A1, and I'm going to paste those cells in by hitting paste. And so now the person who's checking back on this will see, okay, so now here are all the women for whom we have that data collection error. And again, this could be an error on the part of the person who took the survey, on the part of the person entering the data. There could be a lot of points, but it is an error that should be addressed. So now the person can circle back and see what happened with that client, maybe double check the written form that we had for the survey, and they can address this so that our database is as accurate as possible. Alright, so that's it for this video. In the next video, I'll do a little bit on how to calculate averages and median values and why you might want to do that while looking with Women's Initiative data. Alright, thanks a lot. Hopefully this is a helpful video for you.